Michael Foreman has been described as one of the outstanding creators of children's picture books working today. The Sand Horse was his first book to include the storyteller Philip Moran as a character, Philip and Michael having been friends for many years. This led them to working together in creating Soggy the Bear. Their fourth book, Soggy and the Golden Treasure, has just been published, so Mike Dees went along to meet Michael and Philip during a signing at Books Plus in Penzance.
Michael, before we talk about Soggy, I just want to mention the Sand Horse, which I remember buying for my daughter after we'd seen those amazing sand sculptures at Porthclydon Beach and St Ives.
Yeah, they were very popular amongst local people when they were down there, and many people enjoyed going down there to look at the sand horse being created. I, as a local living here, saw them more often than Michael, but Michael was actually quite accidentally introduced to them for another purpose.
I was living in St Ives. I've been living in St Ives for many years, and I saw the chap making the sand horse, but the story was sent to me by an author who was only in the town for a very short number of days, went away, wrote the story, sent it to her publisher, who forwarded it to me. So it came to me as a roundabout way, as a finished text. But I love setting stories in St Ives, so St Ives was obviously going to be the place where the story had happened. And I could see every piece of the action from my studio window. The whole thing happens within a view of the studio, and it's very, very local. Phil Moran makes his first appearance as one of the characters in my books, and this, I think, eventually, of course, led to Phil doing his own stories about Soggy the Bear.
Soggy the Bear is now in its fourth series. How did the idea for these adventures begin?
We got to the stage where we just said, well, we're getting older. Should we consider doing a story together? Michael asked me if I had an opinion of what we could write about, and I said, well, I have this rescue chair in my house. And one of the things that I've done over the years is to pick up dolls and teddy bears and creatures that I find all over the place that children have dropped or left behind. But in fact, in the rescue chair, I had a bear, which when I was out fishing one day, about 4 miles from land, this bear floated past my boat, and it was almost like seeing a body. And I turned round and recovered the bear and took him home, washed him, put him in the chair, and I called him Soggy because he obviously was. And so I said to Michael, well, let's do a story about this bear.
That's how it started, and Soggy the Bear is the account of Phil actually rescuing the bear from the sea.
So did you come up with the idea for the adventures? How did you work it out between you?
Well, it comes from the characters in the chair, really. I think Phil then imagines how they came to be lost in the ocean or washed up on the shore. So one adventure leads to another, like the second book recounts how Soggy now becomes instrumental in rescuing another of the characters from the chair. And so the series builds, introducing a new character each time who's been in some terrible predicament. And Soggy becomes more and more important in the stories, as he becomes more assured.
Philip said before we went on air that the characters in the stories stay the same age.
Yeah, well, they do in a sense. I mean, Jack has probably got a couple of years older, I would fancy. Soggy's got a little bit bigger because not only has he got stronger mentally, but he's also developed as a bear. And in the first instance, in the first book, his only movement was by virtue of the natural elements, by the wind and the waves. But in the second book, we decided to put him in a position where he was actually able to operate his arms. And in the third book, we actually introduced him to walking. So he is developing, but we've decided somewhere along the line that he will never actually speak. He will just think about things. As regards the other characters, of which I suppose in the rescue chair at this moment in time there are probably 20 to 25 different creatures. The mermaid from the third book, I found it on the beach. It was lying behind a rock. The little bear that was in the second book is an extra because that was given to me by a lady whose husband I nursed when he was dying of cancer. And so she gave me this bear after he died, and I called him Patrick, and that's the one we used.
What sort of age group buy the books, read the books? You go into schools, you do signings like today here at Books Plus in Penzance?
Well, this morning a lady just come in and she has seven grandchildren, and so it appeals to grannies. And I think each book has its own kind of character, like the one with Soggy the Mermaid. Little girls obviously very much like mermaids, whereas Soggy to the Rescue is more of a boys thing, so it's a bit of a mixture. And people tend to buy them, instead of in the old days you'd buy a stick of rock. Soggy the Bear has now become a souvenir of Cornwall.
They all have an underlying feature in the books too. The latest one, Soggy and the Golden Treasure, is actually about handicapped children, and it suggests that, you know, with help you can achieve things that you wouldn't normally achieve. The first one was obviously about the despair of drowning and how you have to be careful by the sea. The second one was about losing a child, and the third one was about companionship on an island. So they all have more to them than just a little story.
Michael Foreman, Philip Moran, thank you.
Soggy the Bear books are available through all bookshops, and there's also a website featuring artwork and more details at www.soggybear.co.uk. Books Plus is a Hearsay production for Cornwall Online Radio, produced by Julian Rowe.